My boss fired me to save money, so I deleted the database. He didn't know I managed and watched the entire company collapse in less than 4 hours. Do not scroll, because you need to hear how incompetence cost this company millions. I worked as a senior systems administrator for a logistics company for over 10 years. I was the guy who built their entire tracking system from scratch, and I was the only person in the entire building who knew how the legacy servers actually worked. My boss, let's call him Chad, was a new MBA graduate who knew absolutely nothing about technology, but loved to cut costs to get his quarterly bonus. Chad constantly complained that the IT department was bleeding money and that I was paid too much for just sitting at a computer all day. One Friday afternoon, Chad called me into his office with a smug grin and told me that my position was being eliminated, effective immediately because he had found an outsourced team in another country that could do my job for 10% of my salary. I tried to warn him. I told him, Chad, there are daily encryptions and server maintenance scripts that need to be run manually, or the entire database will lock itself out for security reasons. Chad just laughed and said, don't try to scare me into keeping you, just hand over your badge and get out. So I did exactly what he asked. I handed over my badge. I packed my things and I walked out of the building without touching a single server. I didn't delete anything maliciously. I just stopped doing the maintenance that I was fired from doing. I went home, opened a cold beer, and turned off my phone for the weekend. On Monday morning, I woke up to 57 missed calls and over 100 frantic emails. Apparently, at midnight on Saturday, the security protocols kicked in, and because I wasn't there to enter the rolling authentication codes, the system assumed it was being hacked and locked down. Everything, it encrypted the entire customer database, the shipping manifest, and the billing records. Nobody could ship a package, nobody could send an invoice, and the trucks were literally sitting in the parking lot because the drivers didn't know where to go. Chad sent me an email begging me to come back, saying it was all a misunderstanding and that we could talk about a raise. I ignored him for 3 days, letting them bleed money. Finally, the CEO of the company found my personal number and called me directly, apologizing for Chad's stupidity and asking what it would take to fix it. I told him I would come back, but strictly as an external consultant, and my rate is now $500 an hour with a minimum guarantee of 100 hours paid in advance. The CEO agreed immediately and wired $50,000 to my account. Within the hour, I walked back into the office past Chad's empty desk because he had been fired that morning, and I fixed the issue in about 15 minutes by typing in a simple password that only I knew. I worked there for another month as a consultant, making more money in those 4 weeks than I made in a whole year, and then I quit for good to start my own business, using their money as startup capital. Never fire the only guy who knows the passwords.